G'day guys, welcome back to the show. This is of course Full Power Pelican, and today we are back in Java. So, what's new in Java is that we're getting simulated chunk distances. So what is this? Well, basically what happens is that we now have the ability to control how far of the world actually works with things like Redstone and that sort of thing, which is both great and terrible. Great because basically it'll mean that you now have the ability to have much better gameplay. Bad in the way that, for instance, if you had something that was like a 12 chunk farm or something like that, and you had a 6 chunk render distance, well, only half the farm's going to work, and even worse if it was a flying machine that had to fly basically backwards and forwards, well, it would get halfway, stop, and completely break. So, not great. There is some problems, but don't worry because in the Bedrock community, we've been dealing with this for a very long time. Now, how you deal with this is in a very interesting way. You see, not only are you also getting this update for the simulated chunk distances, but you're also getting higher maps and lower maps down to -64. So what that basically means is that vertical farms are going to be a lot more useful than horizontal farms. And by vertical farms, I mean things kind of like this. So vertical towers, skyscrapers, whatever you want to call them, they're basically big vertical tower farms that are useful for many different things. Now, how these work are fairly sort of simple. You see, if we were, per se, to have a piston that just fired off every time it moved, it would simply just fire off every single time. And that's a bit of a problem. You see, I've lost my little trigger device, apparently. Okay, there we go. So if it was to basically fire off every single time, it would be like this. And if you're trying to grow pumpkins or melons or maybe, I don't know, bamboo, it would destroy the dirt blocks that it's basically standing on. Now that's a bit of an issue. So what we've done a long time ago is basically developed intelligent flying machines. So if you have a look here, what we have is that this piston that was actually just firing all these observers is actually powered through this block and through this observer that's firing every single time. Now, if we were to change how many blocks there was actually up and down here, so let's say, for instance, let's get rid of a whole bunch of these, then what should happen in a few moments is that we actually have all of those blocks not actually getting powered at all. So we can actually control when the redstone system's actually powered. This is kind of like combining a flying machine with a redstone circuit, if you sort of follow my drift. This is where things get kind of technical, but they're kind of cool in the same time because we're having flying machines and redstone circuits at the same time. It gets cool, it gets very interesting, and you can use it for many different things. So the first thing that I'll show you guys is basically this very simple pumpkin melon farm. Nothing too sort of crazy about it. It's a big vertical tower, as you may have seen already in the background. But let's fire it off, and basically as you can see, what's going to happen is that it's only actually going to fire anytime that we want it to. And that means that we're only destroying the pumpkin and melons. We're not destroying the dirt blocks or anything else like that. And it's very useful for that sort of thing. Now, obviously, I've also done a bit of a different sort of layout with the water, only having the water source blocks where the actual dirt is so that it doesn't obviously leak everywhere. But aside from that, it does work pretty well. We've been using these for some time. Well, the very technical players have been using them for some times, and they work pretty well. They work very reliably in Minecraft Bedrock, so obviously in Java, being a much more reliable system, they're going to work even better. Now, what else can you use these intelligent flying machines for? Well, there's more than just one way to skin a cat, and this is where basically we're going to annoy some of the Minecraft community. You see, one of the things about the Minecraft community is the budding amethyst has opened up a world of discussion and a world of debate whether or not it's worth doing redstone for these to be harvested and that sort of thing. You see, the problem is that these aren't easy to harvest. You can't move them. They have to be right there wherever you find them. and that means that they're very tricky to sort of harvest. I've even myself actually gone out and built redstone machines that work underwater in bedrock, and yeah, it's quite expensive to actually do. It's not the cheapest, but using these intelligent flying machines, it's actually quite cheap. So we have 2 flying machines here using obviously the Java mechanics, and if we fire these off, these actually harvest every single one of the shards just using 2 flying machines and these intelligent systems. Now, you'll see in a moment that we get 2 fires of this piston, basically above and below, meaning that anything that we have as far as the shards that are on top and underneath actually do get harvested with this system. So that's very important to this as far as efficiency goes. Now, getting them off the flying machine, because it's probably going to push them on top of the slime blocks and things like that, you'd have to use water or mine carts or things like that. So that's a bit of a downside, but at the same point, it does mean that we can harvest every single block. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly change the random tick speed so that we can get a bit of the shards going on here, and you can see for yourself that it can actually harvest every single one of these shards. Okay, so with the ability of magical editing, we have now all our budding amethysts completely and utterly engulfed in their shards, and you can see that all of them are currently completely free to actually grow as much as they want. Let's get rid of the random tick speed, so game rule, random tick speed, we'll just set it to 1 at the moment, and if we fire off our flying machine again, somewhere over here, then once it gets down to the bottom here, it should have all completed. And here we go. So 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Whoa, look at this. I made a mistake. The one on the outside wasn't actually covered. Ooh, I wonder if I've miscounted the blocks here, or did I delete those by mistake? Hang on, give me 2 seconds. Nope, I was absolutely wrong. I did actually have that there originally, but I got rid of it because they were kind of in the way of this thing. Okay, well, I would have to work around that a little bit more. In fact, let's just fix that up right this second. That shouldn't be too hard to do. How is that not picking up blocks? That's unusual. That should have picked up those 2 blocks. Okay, that should now work. Okay, let's retry this again. This should now pick up those extra blocks that we missed before. And, yep, there it goes, wherever it went flying off to. So there we go, completely and utterly harvested of every single last shard for these amethyst shard farms. So intelligent flying machines are very useful for things like that, where you need to be able to control exactly when a piston's firing, and we can do it quite easily. It's not really that much of a technical sort of thing. So just in case I've lost anyone in my strange and unusual rantings that I usually do with these sort of farms and that sort of thing, what I'm going to do is simplify it down a little bit. Basically how it works is that we would have something kind of like this sort of setup. Now, if we were to normally just basically power this observer, basically, well, not power, but activate the observer with a block update, then what you would find is nothing happens. If we were to have a block right there, then you'd find that obviously the piston fires, get rid of the block, and basically it doesn't fire again. So that's how both these machines are actually working. Now, this is a sort of type 1 sort of machine. These aren't the most complicated that we have. We've been using these for some time, and they are reasonably sort of simple. They're not sort of too crazy. When we start getting into self-returning flying machines and things like that, that's where things in Bedrock start to get a bit sort of nuts. But that's a bit hard because at the moment you can't push dispensers and hoppers and chests and the like which in Java. So unfortunately that is a bit of a limiting factor at the moment. But for the meantime, at least you can build vertical farms and things like that within a very small chunk rendering distance without having too much of an issue. I hope you guys have a bit of fun with this. Obviously, it's a bit of a short video. I might even make a tutorial for you guys if you really want me to. I think it's pretty sort of straightforward. It's not the most complicated sort of thing. But yeah, if you guys want to have a tutorial on it, just let me know and I'll make something and come up with something. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And yeah, this is Intelligent Flying Machines for Java from the Bedrock community. Hope you guys had a bit of fun, and catch you in the next one. See ya! I do miss the animations. We need to get animations in Java Edition. Like the falling over thing and the waving high. I can basically just like hit things. So violent. Java's a very violent edition.